Welcome to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. We've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it.
Good morning. Welcome to Undisputed. I'm Jenny Taft with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing great, Jenny. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm glad to get back in the studio, put my new duds on, you know. How you doing?
Really? Are those new?
Nah, they ain't new, but I just, got tired of wearing, athleisure.
Oh, really? I hear you. So what a show we're about to have today. You had a conversation with Drew Brees, and we are going to have a conversation with Lil Wayne about his experiences growing up in New Orleans around white cops.
Yes. We're ready.
Boom.
Well done, guys. Got to get that in. You both look very nice. I agree. It's nice to see you guys dressing up for the show. And we do have a packed show, like Skip mentioned. Cannot wait for Lil Wayne, but I do want to get to the latest with Drew Brees after that conversation with Shannon. So last week, Brees apologized for comments he made about not supporting protests during the national anthem. Many of his teammates and players around the league accepted Brees' apology. And over the weekend, Drew called and spoke with Shannon on the phone for about 30 minutes. So, Shannon, do you feel differently after your conversation with Brees yesterday? Please take us into the convo.
Well, Skip, I think it was Saturday that I received a text and said, Drew would like to reach out to you. And I'm like, Drew? Like Drew Brees. I said, okay, when? He says, would it be okay? I was like, sure, no problem. So he gave me, he got my number. I got him. He sent me a text. He's like, hey, man, I would like to reach out to you tomorrow. Is that okay? I text him back. So we kind of started engaging in the conversation, Skip, even before we actually had an actual conversation and getting the gist of what he was thinking, how he was feeling. I let him know what I was thinking, how I was feeling. So he called yesterday, said, is it okay if I call? I was like, yeah, I'm calling from a block number. So answer. I know you probably don't answer block calls. You're absolutely right. So he called Skip and we started talking. And I said, the floor is yours. You tell me what you're thinking, and then I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking and how, why I reacted the way I reacted. And he says, first of all, I want to apologize. I want to say that I'm sorry, not only just to you, but to the entire black community. He says, I can understand how what I said, going back and looking at it, I can understand the feelings that you guys felt because it does come off that I lack compassion, that I lack empathy, that I lack understanding. And that's not me. That's not my heart. He just says, if anything, if you know me, Shannon, and you don't really know me well, but we've been around each other. He says, I think you know that I have a good heart and that I've immersed myself in New Orleans since I arrived here. I think 06. He said, so for 15 years, I've been a pillar in the community. And he says, I don't want one bad mistake. I don't want one slip up to ruin everything that I've built. I said, Drew, what you have to understand is that for 1 second, we didn't want you to be Drew Brees. We wanted you to be one of us. We wanted you to feel if that was your brother, if that was your uncle, if that was your father. Mm-hmm. You're still a married father. You're still a doting dad. But for 1 second, you were black. Mm-hmm. How would you feel? And he said, I said, Drew, when you said, fought for the military, you do understand that not only were they fighting in a foreign land for freedoms over there, they were also fighting for freedoms back home. Like the freedom and the pride that you feel when you stand for that flag, everybody does not feel that same sense of pride because they haven't been afforded some of the same opportunities that you and your ancestors have been afforded. He says, I understand that. He says, talking to a lot of my teammates and see the hurt that they felt. I said, Drew, let me break it down to you in a nutshell. What hurt the most is because it came from you. I said, Drew, no white quarterback in the history of the NFL has had black support like you got it. I said, we don't need to get in the different quarterback. I said, but other quarterbacks could have said exactly what you said, and everybody would have been upset. But they said, you know what? I expected that from him. I expected nothing less. But given you in New Orleans, what you've done in the community with Katrina, donating $5 million out of your pocket during this pandemic to feed the homeless, the hungry. Mm-hmm. And Drew said, I said, Drew, why do you think your teammates lashed out like that? Because they couldn't believe that came from you. And after talking to him, Skip, I could feel the pain. And I'm not a guy that's easily forgiven. Mm-mm. You got to show me, Skip. And I said, and he said, so what should I do moving forward? I said, Drew, don't issue any more apologies. I said, your first apology, I said, let me tell you what's going to happen. I said, there's going to be a certain segment that says Drew Brees is only apologizing because he got caught in this firestorm. Now, there's going to be another group that says, you know what? I'm looking at his action, and they match his words. He said he was going to do this. He's doing this. You cannot concern yourself about the ones that's not going to be willing to forgive. Skip, I don't believe in a scarlet. I don't believe one incident should rule. I mean, there are certain things that can, but I don't believe him saying what he said should be the end of Drew Brees. I believe he deserves an opportunity for redemption because he's been too good in that community for let this one slip up undo 15 years of great service. And that's what I told him. I said, Drew, I'll be here. I said, my criticism was harsh. There's no question about that. And I understand that's probably why you're reaching out. But I wanted you to understand not only the hurt that the community felt, that I felt, because when Skip and I talked about this on Tuesday, the first name out of my mouth is I said, Drew Brees, we need you. I said, Drew, we need strong white men, powerful, influential, like you to help us get the ball across the finish line. And I said, Drew, I think you understand that. I think the blowback that you got I think it was deserving. But I also believe that you have a great heart, and I believe you will make right about the wrong that you spoke.
Okay. So, you obviously remember last Thursday, you were outraged.
Scathing.
It was raw, and it was as real as it gets.
Yes.
And you said the New Orleans Saints are fractured.
Yes.
And it's going to be very difficult to heal that wound.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Because not one or two, but all of the Black Star teammates of Drew Brees had condemned what he had said.
Correct.
And it was scathing on all parts. And remember, let me get the days right, it would have been Wednesday night.
Yes.
Malcolm Jenkins, when he heard this, just went completely over the edge in a great way.
Yes.
But he could not contain himself, so he made a video that he was about to post, and he said, Drew just called me.
Right.
And I'm sure some of the things you heard, although Drew had about 72 hours to sort of let it sink in what had exactly happened when he spoke to you yesterday.
Right.
But some of the things he said to you, I'm pretty sure he said to Malcolm.
Yes.
And Malcolm went ahead and posted the first really raw video with the caption that I talked to Drew, but I could not post this video.
Right.
Like, I just got to get this out of me.
Right.
And he went off on his teammate. And he said, even though you're my teammate, I cannot let this slide.
Right.
Because
nor should he.
You have such clout. He said, you have such privilege that you could have been our biggest advocate. And instead, you took this path. And then he said, you don't even understand history. And I'm just paraphrasing the way Malcolm did it. But he had tears in his eyes.
Yes.
And he was breaking up. And he said, our forefathers also fought in those wars you're talking about, especially World War II.
Yes.
And when they came back, it was not to a hero's welcome.
To the back of the bus.
Okay,
you still can't come in here.
Okay. So he was just incensed. And it felt like a bridge at least was on blazing fire.
Right.
I don't know if it'd been burned to the ground, but it was on fire. And you have often made the point to me, once a man shows himself, and we're not saying, nobody ever said he's racist, it's just that he doesn't get it. I go back to the Michael Thomas tweet. He don't know enough to know. Right? He's just oblivious to what we're going through. What it is to me, it's this elite white insensitivity where you just live in your own world and you're kind of like wide-eyed. And it's not that Drew Brees didn't hear about Trayvon Martin. What year was that, 2014?
Yeah.
Right in there. Okay, but let's go back to that one. Go back to Trayvon. It's not that Drew didn't hear or read about it. It just kind of went in one eye and out the other. He's insensitive to it because he's just fine in the world he lives in. But the world his teammates, a majority of his teammates live in, is an extremely different world. So did he hear about Eric Garner? Did he hear about Michael Brown? Heck, for that matter, did he hear about George Floyd? Well, sure, he heard about them, but they didn't hit his heart. He did not share any of your gut-wrenching feelings, your fear of how can we survive in this country today as black people. If we get pulled over by the cops, we could be dead. Okay, so that's the emotion of that moment. But then we heard from Shaq, who just happened to have been scheduled to be on the Zoom call the next day, just as a guest speaker. So he participated with his ears first because he got to hear Drew's emotional, tearful apology.
Yes.
And then he got to hear all of his black teammates start to chime in. And Shaq interpreted it on TNT the next night as it sounded pretty good to him, like his apology was accepted.
Right.
And then Shaq's message that I read today from, I believe it was Peter King, was that he told all the Saints, don't let the media tear you guys apart. Kobe and I let the media tear us apart.
Right.
Well, you did have something to do with getting torn apart. You were somewhat responsible because you were not...
You created a situation for media to tear.
That they were just reporting.
Correct.
Okay. And Drew stepped in it. You didn't step in it, or Malcolm didn't step in it. It wasn't... It's not the media creating a story.
Right.
It was created by Drew Brees.
Right.
Okay, so I'm back to the question. You've told me so many times, once a man shows you who he is that who he always is going to be? Can, if I can use this word, can Drew get woke? You know, can he be woke over the last 72 hours? Enough that Shannon Sharpe will say, okay, I won't look at him side-eye now. I'll accept him as sort of reformed here, as recovering from his position, right?
Skip, and I think the reason why Malcolm reacted kind of like I reacted is because it was Drew. And he said, Drew, you're such a person of prominence. This is what it's going to take. Guys like a Drew Brees, guys like these prominent, powerful white men that can say the exact same thing Shannon Sharpe can say. But because you're white, you talk like them, you travel in circles like them, they're more apt to receive it from you than receive it from me. So Skip, when what I started to think about, I was like, and that's what, remember Skip, I said, but this doesn't sound like Drew. Here's the guy that did so much for Katrina. Here's the guy that gave $5 million during the pandemic to feed the hungry. And why would you say that at this moment? I was like, and he said, it does. I said, Drew, it really does sound like the flag meant more than a life. I say, so you can understand. I say, I was scathing, and I'm from a distance. Think about what some of your teammates said that see you every day, that talk to you 9 months out of the year. That's what they felt. So you can understand how I'm feeling. And it's like, you do understand, like when men fought for freedoms, they fought for your ability to stand and salute the flag, but they also fought for someone to kneel. So you can't just say, well, they fought and the First Amendment only applies to me and standing. It also applies to, it's applicable to others if they want to kneel. And so, Skip, I think the thing is, for me, I think he got it. His wife also issued a statement saying we're part of the problem. And that's what I said, Skip. I said, it's guys like you. Because, Skip, we've been, bro, hear our cries. Hear us, this is unacceptable. We need guys like a Drew Brees. We need prominent people, white men, women, to say this is unacceptable. This should not be going on in America. And I think, Skip, and I don't know what is transpired, what makes this so unique. Maybe it was the mere fact that the camera was from me to you, and people could literally see George Floyd's life leaving his body.
Bingo.
That's what it was. They say you've never seen a man cry until you've seen a man die. And so that's what people watch, Skip. And so I think that hit differently. Skip, the only thing different is the name. Because Eric Gardner died, Sterling died, Walter Scott, Athena Jefferson, Breonna Taylor, all these, Sandra Bland, Skip, Trayvon Martin. The difference is the name. And to see that up close, to watch a man, Skip, nobody wants to watch that. And that's what we saw. And I think the thing is, and I say, Drew, you issued your apology, and some people still weren't going to believe it. But I think the biggest thing that you did is your retort to President Trump. When he said, we can no longer make it about the flag, we can no longer hide behind the flag. This is an issue that affects the black community, and they need our help. I think that was the one that probably resonated even more than his original statement.
Well, it did, because I think President Trump just called him out and put him right back on the hot seat with all caps, no kneeling, which was the last two words of the tweet. but it was directed at Drew.
Right.
And he wanted Drew to knuckle under and say, you got me, I still support the flag. And again, Drew was in no position to re-alienate his whole team.
Right.
Or Shannon Sharpe, for that matter, right? So, to your point, he immediately tweeted, we must stop talking about the flag and shift our attention back to the real issues of systemic racial injustice. And then he goes on and names everything, every evil under which the black community had to live and die over the last God knows how long.
Correct.
So again, he stood up to the president.
Yes.
And I'm sure that went a long way, because then Michael Thomas, who had been one of his biggest critics, if not his biggest, immediately retweeted Brees' response with all caps, my QB, with the flex emoji.
Yes.
Okay. So are we saying they're not fractured anymore?
Skip, no. Because I don't believe this is a one time. This is a building. Just like Skip, it takes you. I mean, think about how long it took for some of these buildings that were torn down. It takes a while, but it doesn't take long to tear something down. And I told Drew, I said, Drew, you can paint 1,000 pictures and never be considered an artist. But one deed, one misspoken word can tear everything that you've built. It can tear it down in a matter of seconds.
And he knew that. He knew his whole legacy was on the line.
Yes.
Because we talked at the end of Thursday's show about his legacy.
Yes.
And you said it's always going to carry this little asterisk about what he said at a flashpoint moment in the history of this country.
He can, Skip, he can, I think the thing is that he can push it down and down and down. And by the time we get to that moment, it won't matter. If things go according to where they're going now, because Skip, these protests aren't dying down. They're coming. People are coming out with force, and we thought we talked about it like on Tuesday. How much longer? I like Skip.
With peaceful force.
Peaceful. No rioting, none. And you see, it's growing. The momentum is here. This is the moment. This is the time. And Drew can help lead the charge and be at the forefront in this peaceful protest. So Skip, and I told him, I said, my intentions. And maybe, I think, Skip, sometimes my tone, and I said, Drew, it's never personal with me. I said, I understand. He says, bro, you carry a lot of weight. What you were able to accomplish, the way you conduct yourself, the way you do things on and off the field, you carry a lot of weight, and people hear what you have to say. And he says, I think that's what stung the most. I say, well, it stung me the most coming from you, because there are a lot of other quarterbacks I'd have been out for the commentary. I say, but what do you expect, Skip? I expect nothing less coming from him. But from you, Drew, in that community, you have a very unique. You're one of. I mean, look, Matthew Stafford plays in Detroit. There are a lot of blacks in Detroit. They don't rally around Matthew Stafford like they do for you, Drew. Matt Ryan is in Atlanta. I live in Atlanta, Skip. They don't galvanize for Matt Ryan like they do you, Drew. Drew, I say one of the things, Drew. You're 6 foot tall, you're like 200 pounds. They look at you as a normal guy. They look at you, Drew, and they don't think you are standoffish. They feel they could come up to you and you would carry on a conversation and not look at them like, why are you talking to me? That's how they view you, Drew. They view you, Drew, as one of them. They say you're a light-skinned one of them. That's how they view you, Drew. And for you to say that, like I said, a lot of other people could have said it, Drew, and they got criticism, but they just say, what did you expect? That's why it hurt. I said, Drew, think about your teammates and what they said. I'm saying this from a distance. Your teammates offered a scathing criticism of you because it was you. They needed you to be an ally, and for a brief second, you became an adversary.
So I told you Thursday, in my past, I've covered 2 football teams, 2 NFL teams, racially torn quietly inside the locker room. It didn't hit social media because there was no social media.
Correct.
That overcame that and won in spite of that, and might have won because of that.
Right.
Because they pulled together.
Yes.
You pulled together in 1998 after a spitting
97.
incident. I'm sorry, 97. Bill Romanowski, J.J. Stokes,
Correct.
Monday Night Football. You led the charge in the team meeting, and you pulled together after that episode that nobody in the locker room could stomach, and here you went.
Right.
And you took off. Right?
Yes.
I know 2 other teams that did somewhat the same thing over very different but racial incidents, okay? So this time, that's why I said to you, the Saints might just unify after this.
Right.
So are you there now that they could pull together and go places?
I think the thing is that was with us is that we were in the moment. So we didn't have time. And plus the fact, Skip, we had lost 4 straight games. So things were starting to slip away. And so we didn't have any choice but to unify. Yeah. I think for Drew is that they're still 3 months away. We don't know. I mean, the season's at least 3 months away. Now, when they're going to get back together as a unit, like I said, virtual is one thing. When you get, like you and I are sitting here talking, face to face, I can see your body language. I can see your mannerism. Okay, Drew, talk to me. What were you thinking about? And he's going to have that conversation. He does not have to issue a public apology, but I believe he's going to have private conversations with some of his teammates. Malcolm Jenkins. I believe he's going to have Alvin Kamara, because Alvin Kamara was quite boastful in his like, bro. Unless you're an African American man, you don't get it.
No.
But we need you to empathize with us. You can never be black, but you can have empathy. And I think that's what we're starting to see, Skip. I think that's the biggest thing that I've gathered from this. We're starting to see men, women of all races, not just the black race, the Asian community, the white community, says, you know what, man, this ain't right. This ain't right. We've known it wasn't right for the longest time, but we didn't feel comfortable speaking out because of the possible backlash. Well, there is no backlash now, Skip. So now what we're going to see, Skip, I believe the slightest, people are going to speak up. And you're seeing corporations. We've seen coaches are losing their jobs from previous tweets. We're seeing association disappear, endorsees.
Yep.
Like, nah, that ain't what we represent. Skip, you can't. It's a death sentence now.
As I told you last week, never in the history of this country have more white ears been open to the black plight than at this flashpoint moment.
Yes.
Because of that video, which was the modern day equivalent to me of a lynching on concrete.
Yep.
Knee on neck. It's like a lynching, a public lynching.
Right.
And the policeman was so arrogant with a hand in his pocket. It's like, watch this. He knew he was being videotaped, and he liked it. He seemed to like it.
Right.
So that, the emotion that got detonated over that opened a lot of white ears for maybe they're younger white ears, but depending on where we jump from here, where we go from here, this could be the greatest time for sort of race relations and fixing the problems in the black community that you have suffered, starting with police brutality. In the history of this country, this could be the moment.
I believe so, Skip. As long as we don't have someone fanning the flames, trying to keep the divisiveness amongst us. Yes, I believe so, Skip. I believe there's enough people that are fed up with the injustice, and they see what's going on. And Skip, I think the thing is that they see the hurt that it's causing. Because you see, if we're going to talk about Michael, Skip, Michael's hurt.
Jordan.
Jordan. Skip, you hear his statement. Sometimes they say that some writers can make you feel what they're feeling as they're writing. Some singers can make you feel the heartbreak, the disappointment as they sing. I'm listening to Michael and I'm reading it, and I can almost feel the hurt that he's going through. Like, enough. Even Michael Jordan, worth $2 billion. He's untouched. He's not going to police. So I'm glad we had the conversation, Skip. Just like the conversation that we had a meeting with Romo and I, and we had a team meeting in '97. Bill Romanowski and I had a 30-minute individual meeting, just he and I, and we talked, and I felt better leaving that than I did the team meeting. I felt better after talking to Drew, because it took a lot of courage for him to reach out to me, Skip. It took a lot. A lot of people, when you criticize them, I'm done with you. I ain't got nothing to say to you. But it took a lot for him. And I looked at him, and like I said, Drew, I said, time will tell. But I'm in your corner because I believe you can do this. I believe you can help us get to where we ultimately need to be. And at the end, that's all I care about. No mercy.
NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell released a video saying that the league was wrong for not listening to black players protesting earlier. He said that he will be personally protesting alongside his players, as well as listening to players in the league to determine the best way to move forward. So, Shannon, did you hear enough from Roger Goodell?
No, I needed to hear more, Skip. How do you mention the civil rights movement without mentioning Dr. King? how do you mention your players without mentioning the player? And I think the thing is, Skip, now maybe legally he's not allowed to say Colin Kaepernick.
You know what? I think you're right about that. I think it's deep legal water. Yeah. But go ahead.
And so, Skip, and I think and because the thing was what I think bothers a lot of people in the black community is that they started parroting something that was coming out of the White House about the flag, about the military, about the vets. And you hear a lot of people say this. Skip, I've been around Commissioner Goodell a lot longer than I've been around the owners. And I think at his core, he's a good man. I really do believe that, Skip.
I agree.
But you do understand this. People, I want you to understand at home, he works at the behest of the owners. He's the shield. You hear, Skip, everybody talk about the shield, the shield. Well, Roger Goodell is the shield for those 32 owners. Roger Goodell does nothing without their blessing. When he was hired, and he was on, I think it was Time Magazine, there's a new sheriff in town. They hired him for that, Skip. So in other words, he makes $40, $50 million a year to get booed every time he addresses the public while the owners collect check and everybody applauds them. That's his job. So, and I think it was a response to, Michael Thomas put this together. And he had a lot of black prominent players says, I'm Eric Floyd. I'm George Floyd. I'm Eric Garner. Yep. I'm Sandra Bland. And so maybe it was a retort to that. Skip, before I go any further, it just goes to show you the biggest mistake people make with power is believing they don't have any. Just imagine if they had stuck together like they're sticking together now for the CBA. Imagine if they had stuck together in the beginning with Cap. Imagine if they would roll with Cap in the beginning like they're riding with him now. I don't know if we'd got here, Skip. We might have could have got this process started 2-3 years earlier. But there's one person I really want to hear from, Skip Bayless. And you know who that is. He was the only owner that threatened his players. That if they didn't toe the line, if they didn't put hand over heart, hold helmet in their arms, they weren't playing for him. I want to hear from him. Don't release a statement because a statement doesn't do it justice, Skip, because you didn't release a statement when you threaten your players. I need to hear you. How you feel about this, Jerry? What you thinking?
We're going to do a whole topic on that in just a minute.
Skip, you know what it is, though? You could be no wrong, Skip. Black Lives Matter, the NFL might start printing T-shirts. They can make money on this. Because that's what we see, Skip. Right now, it's convenient. It's really convenient, Skip. And people are looking. Do they really care about this? Because they had an opportunity. Skip, when you and I tried to tell them, guys, y'all want to be on the right side of history. I say, and I kept telling them, I say, one day, Cap is going to be looked at like a Rosa Parks and Dr. King. Maybe not that big, but I'm saying, no. Maybe that big. Yeah, still.
As history might.
Right. Because I say, but see, y'all looking at these historical figures in today's time, go back to the 1960s. In the 50s, they weren't looked at like this.
No.
They're like Rosa. Now, you know you're supposed to get up and get that seat up. You making it hard on everybody else. Dr. King, come on now. So everybody wasn't happy with them. I believe Cap will be looked upon favorably and rightfully so. He told you, he took a stand. He tried to warn us that this was brewing, coming to a head, and they didn't want to hear him. And I think now Skip is really convenient because Skip, it's easy to do something out of matter of convenience. When it's inconvenient, when it's not acceptable, will you be willing to take that stand?
Yep.
And the NFL weren't willing to take that stand. And I think now, so you're raising a lot of eyebrows. Guys, people looking at you like, I don't know, NFL, because you had a chance to do this in 2016, 2017, 2018, and some of the owners, mainly the Cowboys, like, you weren't going to be playing for us. And guys like, well, we saw what happened to Cap. I don't want that to happen to me. I like my money. I like making my $3, $4, $5, $10 million a year. I ain't missing my money. So it's very interesting. I think Commissioner Goodell's video was a retort to what those blacks from the Saquons and Pat Mahomes and some of these other guys.
Not a retort.
No, but
it was a. No, it was. I'm with you. He basically repeated everything they said, right?
Skip, it would have went a lot further if he had done it first.
Oh, I agree with that. No, it was a response.
That's
okay, not a retort.
Response. Okay, a response to what they said and what they did.
I got it.
So that's my point. Thank you. Wrong road.
Okay.
Great.
All right. So just to be completely fair here, on the positive side of the NFL ledger, let's go back to 1991 when Arizona would not recognize MLK Day.
Yes.
And the NFL, boom, said no Super Bowl.
They protested, huh?
Okay, yeah, okay.
They did not protest.
Okay.
So unless you make Dr. King a national holiday, you're not getting a Super Bowl.
Okay, so the NFL did do that. And then when the next year they said, we do recognize it, then in 96, they said, okay, you can have your Super Bowl.
Your Cowboys beat the Steelers.
Beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was a mismatch, but that's a whole nother story.
Well, you had your Waterloo. You know who else played there?
Who?
New England.
Oh.
They played in 2000. Oh, my bad. That's painful. That's too painful.
Okay, too painful. But back on track here. Then in 2017, just for the record, just to be completely fair, remember, the NFL said we will work with this new players coalition founded by Malcolm Jenkins, Anquan Bolden, and we will donate, do you remember this?
Yeah.
$89 million? That's a ton of money to social justice causes. I don't know exactly what that meant. I don't know exactly where all that money was funneled. But it didn't save George Floyd's life, and it didn't save Ahmaud Arbery, and I can go back for a few years, right? So I don't know, but they did dedicate, according to the press release, $89 million. And when the NFL says it's going to donate, I think they did. Right? Okay, so do you give them...
Well, I think a lot of that, Skip, a lot of that had to do with fine money. A lot of that had to do with the players putting in money with the team, and then they match and things of that nature. So, yes, let's give them some credit, because they were getting beat up so bad because Cap didn't have a job.
Agreed.
What they realized, Skip, is that they kept talking about our fans, and black people like, oh, we go to games too. We buy merchandise too. We buy concession too. So you keep talking about your fans, what about us?
Okay, so here's the incredible new part of this story. I kept telling you last week, what caught my eye, as a white guy, I'll be the first to admit, as I'm watching all the protests, the demonstrations, the marches, I'm seeing on my TV, very unscientifically, I'm saying, it looks like half these people are white or not black. Let's just say not black. Hispanics, Asians, there are a whole lot of people, lots of other colors, who are not only just joining in, they seem to be leading. Especially younger white people. There was one older white man, I believe he's 75, in Buffalo, who challenged the police line and got knocked on his back and split his head open, but he was 75. But so I'm not saying there are no older white people, but a whole lot of young white people are on fire with this cause. What do we talk about Jake Fromm? A female acquaintance of his in his Georgia days from a year ago decided she had a year-old text message from him that she thought was racist. You also thought it was very racist. So she exposed it because she wanted to do her part for the cause. Guess who went rogue and detonated this player's video that then the commissioner, you can argue, was forced to respond to? A white guy who worked in the NFL office, who worked in the social media ranks, just a rank and file member of the social media team, who's actually based out here in Mar Vista in Southern California, in the LA area by the airport. He's in his kitchen, and he is so incensed as a white guy by this sort of empty, weak response by the NFL early last week. That he was so on fire that he decided, talking to some of his friends, black and white, within his social media ranks, working for the NFL, I'm going rogue. I'm going to send a DM to Michael Thomas and say, hey, would you cooperate if we gave you some copy to read, some lines to think about, and you guys could come up with your own lines? Would you say, I am so-and-so, would you do this? And Michael Thomas said, I'm in. And they were like, wow, we got this. And then he got all the way up to Patrick Mahomes to contribute. And all of a sudden he had 10 or 12, and he throws it together. And he said, he told Peter King, reported this. And he said, I thought I might lose my job over this. Instead, it created a new firestorm that it forced the commissioner's hand, but the commissioner said a lot of strong things. The commissioner went so far as to say, without black players, there would be no National Football League.
That was the first time.
Whoa. Really? Boom. That's the biggest mouthful that's ever come out of the commissioner's mouth. The league is, what are we going to say, 70% black? Okay. Boom. Thank you, Commissioner. Michael Thomas said, well said, Commissioner. Well said, Roger, he said. Okay? So it started with a guy named Brendan Minter, a white guy, who just said, I can't take it for my black brothers and sisters. This is just wrong.
Right.
My league is the tone setter in all of sports. Right. After 9/11, my league set a new tone. Mm-hmm. We need to set one now.
Right.
And he said that Commissioner Goodell did get a hold of him after all had transpired and said, we need you more involved. So not only did he not lose his job,
probably got a raise or promotion.
I hope so. I hope so, because that took some guts.
It did, Skip.
Okay?
It did.
So once again, as I've told you now for 5 days, there are a lot of white people who are so with you that this is the watershed moment in the history of this country, depending on how the people in power now react.
Right.
What reforms can actually are actionable? What can be put into practice? What more could the NFL do now as a lobby? Could they lobby? Like, I loved it that Minneapolis said no more chokeholds for our cops.
Yeah.
And some of the California cities responded with no more chokeholds.
Yep.
So we started there. Could the NFL help push that through? Could the black players form more of a, again, we got the Players Coalition, but is there a stronger voice to be had here? Are there other things to do? And now we get to kneeling. Again, our president, he didn't double down, he like quadrupled down, right? With another tweet that is basically daring Roger Goodell and the owners. Are you really going to do this? Are you going to allow kneeling during our national? Are you going to let them disrespect our country? Well, Mr. President, that's not what it was about to begin with. While our president might have been on the right side of this in 2016 with the majority on his side because nobody really got what Cap was saying, is it possible right now our president's on the wrong side of this?
He is. And Roger Goodell's like, you know what? I'm on the right side right now.
He is.
Because I see the streets.
That is correct.
And I see what's going on in New York. I see what's going on in D.C., in L.A.
Just turn your TV on. Okay?
You're wrong on this one, Mr. President.
You were wrong this time.
And they were afraid of him, Skip, because they were afraid because he's on Twitter and they're afraid they might get that, that horrible tweet.
Remember the leaked audio from the owners' meetings about how afraid they were that the president's going to come down on them and take away some of their abilities to make money? Right.
And so, Skip, we need these, like Commissioner Goodell and Jerry Jones. Because, Skip, even before now, I understand Rodgers said he wanted to do that. But I can assure you, if he didn't talk to all 32 owners, he talked to two I know absolutely for certain. Jerry Jones and Mr. Kraft.
I would agree.
Now, he probably ran this by the Maras, maybe the Steelers owners.
There wasn't a lot of time in between players speaking out and Roger responding, right?
Skip, he got those guys are in his corner. And because, Skip, look, all the owners, you say all owners, you 132, but you really know, Skip, it's a handful of owners that run the NFL. And that one in Dallas, and that one in Massachusetts.
They're powerful.
People listen to them. So now just imagine if they go before Congress and say, this is what we need. Man, now you're talking about a shift, Skip. You talking about a pair. Now you talking about the earth moving? Let them go before Congress. The Senate, Lindsey Graham, and go speak before them. And have those guys show up.
So where does Shannon Sharpe now stand about kneeling next year? What's the right way to do this? What makes sense to you?
This is what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid we're going to have a story before the game because then it's going to be, okay, you got 40 guys kneeling and 10 guys and 5 or 6 guys are getting. Okay, so why didn't you kneel? And I don't think it should be that, Skip. If that's what you choose to do, that's what you choose to do. But I don't think it should be, you try to pit a team against a team because you got 20 guys kneeling and 25, 26 guys standing. I don't want it to be that, Skip. But do I believe a lot of guys will be kneeling? Absolutely. Especially the first week, Skip.
What would you think? I've seen this proposed several places to a moment of silence, maybe a minute of silence ahead of the national anthem, where players, fans, whoever wanted to do whatever they wanted to do, they could do it. And then you could all stand and lock arms for the national anthem or however you wanted to do it. Would that work?
What will work? Okay, NFL, okay, I understand you released this video, and I understand that you're saying all the right things. So are you guys going to go to Congress? Are you guys, and I need Roger Goodell, I need Mr. Kraft, I need Jerry Jones, I need you powerful white men. powerful, influential. Are you going to go to Congress on our behalf and speak about legislation that can be enacted?
So that's way more important to you than kneeling or not kneeling.
Absolutely,
right?
Because that's going to lead to change.
And finally, do you want to see Colin Kaepernick get a shot to come back?
If Cap wants to. If he wants to, Skip. I don't know if Cap, and you hear he wants to play. I haven't talked to Cap in a year and a half, maybe 2 years, Skip. If Cap wants to play, he should be given the opportunity. But I don't know if Cap wants to play.
I'm not sure that either.
Maybe they should give him a job and say, okay, you're going to be our outreach guy. You're going to be in charge of making sure the NFL is doing what it's supposed to do for the African-American communities. Maybe that should be his job. Give him a title, do that.
Yeah.
Because it seems to me, the NBA never had this problem. Because Adam Silver and David Stern never suppressed their freedoms. It was just in the NFL. And Skip, you know how it is. The more you tell somebody they can't do something, the more they're going to want to do it.
Yeah.
It's just, think about it, Skip. Once they said, okay, you can have curfew, the people became more peaceful.
True. Yep. Again, I'm with you. If Cap wants to play, I just don't want to see him be a backup quarterback. He was a very successful starting quarterback. Right. And it was 4 years ago. And there's a part of me that wants him to remain the martyr that he is, because he is a powerful martyr right now.
He was right. He was right, and a lot of people were wrong.
Yep.
No mercy. Well, guys, yesterday, Dez Bryant tweeted, somebody should have brought Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, and Jason Witten to this protest in Austin. Dez followed it up with another tweet saying he wasn't calling them out, but said that it would show them what, quote, unity really looks like. So, Shannon, what did you read into this?
Dez calling them out. I don't know how you deduce any other thing other than that right there, Skip Bayless. Because
called him out for what exactly?
In 2017, when this was going on, it was Jerry and Steven, and I believe Jason Witten. Jason Witten carries a lot of weight, Skip. Remember, T.O. had a problem with Jason Witten way back in, 2008, 2009. So 10 years later, he's captain. He's had that captaincy since the inception of they can put the C on the chest. He's had it. And so he's saying, because this is what Jerry said back in 2017, we cannot in any way give the implication that we tolerate disrespecting the flag. Good way of Skip, it was never about the flag. But if I could keep you thinking it's about the flag, and then somebody else was trumpeting that from a big old, beautiful White House with a megaphone saying it's disrespecting the flag. And so guess who else? Jerry, Stephen, and Jason Witten. Skip, it's not an accident that he mentioned those three. You think that's an accident? Absolutely not. And he said, this is not a policy change. This is a change of heart. Oh, Skip. Not a policy change, but a change. Hey, he tried to say, y'all need to have a John Q moment. Have a change of heart in what you think and what you feel and what you believe. This is the time. Like I said, Skip, it's really convenient. Now, Skip, do this. So I believe Dez was calling these guys out, Skip, because you're talking about obviously one of the two most powerful men, probably in Dallas, and one of the most recognizable faces, one of the most respected players in Cowboys history, and Jason Witten. So it was not an accident. And he says it'd have been really good for the cause if you guys show up. And it's not a policy change. It's a change of heart. Come on, Skip.
So here's what I want to make sure about.
Okay.
Is Dez suggesting that Jerry, Stephen, and Jason Witten have a racist mindset? Is that where he's going with this?
I don't, Skip. See, this notion, and I know people like, well, Jerry loves his black players. Yeah, Jerry loves his black players that can help win games. George Floyd and Tamir Rice and Alton Sterling weren't going to help Jerry Jones win no games.
Nope.
So we need you to have empathy for guys that can help you, Skip. It says a lot about a man that cares about someone that can do absolutely nothing for him. Michael Irvin could win games. Zeke Elliott could win games. Dez Bryant, Charles Haley, Deion Sanders, Emmitt Smith. Those guys can win games. What about the man that can do nothing for Jerry Jones? Does he care about those black bodies?
No, he is, as he says, a businessman. That's what he is. Bottom line, businessman.
Thank you.
If it affects the bottom line, I'm out. If I'm going to lose advertisers over this, I'm sorry, I'm out. We're standing for the anthem. If you say it's okay, if the advertisers are on board now, I'm okay. You can do whatever you want to. Mm-hmm. It's about big business.
Yep.
Okay, so just for the record, when it has come time for me to criticize Jerry Jones on the show, I have dropped the hammer on him. And there are times when he has been very unhappy with me, and I am just fine with that. But I am here to tell you, let's go to racist. Mm-hmm. As I've said before, I spent literally hundreds of hours around Jerry Jones in researching 3 books. All 3 books had Big Jerry in them that I wrote about the Dallas Cowboys. So I was with him in many off-the-cuff situations, hanging around, just shooting the breeze. Not one time, not once, and I have keen radar to this, did I ever hear what I thought was a racist word or phrase come out of his mouth. Mm-hmm. A racist mindset was never expressed to me in any way, shape, or form, even though Jerry was raised in a racially torn Little Rock, Arkansas, back in the late 50s, mm-hmm. early 60s. Mm-hmm. Look, Little Rock Central, Little Rock, North Little Rock High School, where Jerry went.
Right.
Whew, with the segregation versus integration. Mm-hmm. Huge. National Guard called in. So he came up through that. He has a reputation for treating many black players like a son, but I agree with you. It's in large part. He does love them because he gets a kick out of being around football players because he was a pretty good college football player. I give you that. But in the end, it's about selling tickets, number 1, and winning games, number 2. And if those black players can do that for Jerry, he loves them like a son, and he often overpays them like sons, which is why this Dak thing has become so fascinating and head-scratching to me. Now, we go back to what Dez is saying. I just want to make sure, because Dez once was treated like a son, and now it seems like Dez realized the other night that maybe I'm on the outside looking in. So we've seen a sweep of the country of ex-black players pointing fingers back in the past at Utah or Iowa or Clemson. That was racist behavior. Right. And they're probably right. And all some of the people have said, no, I didn't do that. But they're probably right. So it's a time in this country, it's almost like the Me Too movement, where it's time for everybody to blow the whistles that never got blown because they didn't feel emboldened enough.
Correct.
Now everybody looks back. A lot of ex-black players at colleges say, that guy treated me with racist behavior, and I had to stomach it and swallow it at the time.
Right.
So now Dez is looking back at 2017, I guess, and saying, if only Jerry, Stephen, and Jason could go march in Austin, maybe they'd see what real unity meant.
Right.
Okay, not to overly defend Jerry, but I'm going to refer to a column written on September 25th of 2017 at a Monday Night Football game featuring Dallas at Arizona. Yeah. Jarrett Bell, our friend we've had on the show, a prominent African-American voice in the national media as the football columnist, the NFL columnist for USA Today, wrote this piece, and he quotes Jerry in it, and this is about a month into the controversy, okay? And Jerry said after the game, it was easy to see that the message about unity and equality was being pushed aside by the controversy. So it's the counter to what you're talking about. He says, there's no need for us to talk about equality and have 60% of the country mad at you because you're not perceived to be honoring the flag. This tonight was the way to do it. Remember how they did it. It was Jerry's idea right before kickoff. Right. He went in the locker room and he said, I got this. The team split. Kneel, not kneel. You know, Jason Witten, go ahead.
Read what you said. You said it's about equality, but it's not worth it if 60% of the country. So Jerry says, I don't give a damn about equality if other people are upset at me.
Yes, he's saying it's the wrong way to go at it because you're losing 60%. Now I think you got like 80% on your side.
Exactly.
Okay? I don't know that for a fact, but it feels like it. It does. Okay, yes. All right. So Jerry's idea was, let's all go out just before the anthem. Let's go inside the white lines and let's all kneel together. And he took his family out there. He took Stephen and Charlotte and Jerry Jr. They all went out and kneeled with the player. Every player kneeled for, I don't know what it was, 30 seconds maybe. Then they backed back across the white line and locked arms for the anthem. Okay. Is it phony baloney? Maybe you could say. You were skeptical the next day, but at least he was trying. And Jarrett Bell co-signed on it. He says the last lines of his column were the last 2 words, it worked. So Jarrett's saying he liked it. All the players quoted in here said it was a great idea.
But Skip, here's the thing. We've seen teams at the Super Bowl come out locked arm in arm. So is it a unity as a team, or we're unity, or we're against systemic racism, police brutality on unarmed black men and women? See, the message was lost because what was the symbol? What was the gesture? When Cap did what he did, he told you why he was doing it, and he told you what he was doing.
Yeah.
When you come out,
I didn't know the first time, but I knew once he spoke.
Yeah, and he explained it to me. And so, and he says, I'm going to continue to do it as long as my people are being oppressed. You see, Jerry did that. What's the least I could do but get the maximum amount? So I did this. I appeased some of the black players. I don't tick off the guy that I really don't want to tick off. And that's the guy, because everybody was afraid of him, Skip. Because remember.
You're talking about the big guy.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Because Jerry said he got a call. Jerry said he got a call from him.
Yep, he did.
So you want that call to be good.
Right.
You don't want that call to be bad.
Okay, and remember, Jason Witten's right out of the Drew Brees mold, super patriot, arch conservative, you know the type, and so he's just blindly patriotic.
Yes.
Where it's like you can't shake him from, it's God and country. I don't care what the cause is, I can't kneel during my anthem. Right. So that's what you're up against with Jason Witten.
Right.
But I've never heard anybody say Jason Witten was racist, nor have I ever heard a black player say Jerry Jones was racist.
No, Skip, and I don't believe they are. But it's not good enough. Well, I'm not racist. We need you to join the cause.
Yes,
that's it.
I got it. No, that's the difference here.
Right.
But I mean, some white people are just flat out racist, so they're not going to join. They don't want to hear about the cause.
Correct.
Okay, but I think there's enough open mind here. So maybe Dez is on to something. It sort of got me that now he sees him draft CeeDee Lamb, and it's like, I guess I'm out now, so the gloves are off. I'm going to take shots.
But Skip, Jerry Jones is the most powerful. He's the most vocal NFL owner. It's not like him to release statements. If Jerry Jones has something to say, he says it. The buck stops with him. He's made that abundantly clear. Now, when he said they're not going to play, when he threatened his players, Skip, it was not through a statement.
Yeah.
He verbalized that.
He did.
Now he's gone radio silent, a man that has never lost for words.
True.
Now, his silence is noted.
So would you like to hear from him?
I would love to hear.
Okay. And you want to hear what you heard from the commissioner, or their reasonable facsimile?
I want to hear Jerry speak.
Okay.
Speak your heart. If you ain't down with this, you're not down with it. Okay. But I just need to know. Whose side are you on? Skip, it's convenient now. I mean, he can't be wrong. It's convenient now, Skip.
I'd like to hear him do a whole press conference as opposed to issuing a statement.
Yeah, I want to hear. I want to hear no statement.
Okay. I'm with you.
Can't really shy away from voicing your opinion nowadays. We want to hear from individuals about these matters. No mercy. Last week, Mark Wahlberg tweeted about the death of George Floyd. He said that it was heartbreaking and we must work together to fix the problem, and added the hashtag Black Lives Matter. Some were quick to dig up Wahlberg's past hate crimes when he was a teenager, and now others in the sports world are being outed for their past racist comments or actions. So, Shannon, do Wahlberg's past high school incidents make you feel differently about him now?
Skip, and I mentioned this earlier, Skip, I don't really like branding someone with that scarlet letter for a one-time incident. This happened long ago, and that's not an excuse, because I don't excuse he knew what he was doing, and he did it. But is there a pattern of behavior from that moment? Has anything else occurred along these lines? Now, he's been in Hollywood, and he's worked with a lot of black actors, support groups, and people that are around. So it'd be interesting to see if someone else can come out and say, I had a story, and he said something that was racially, towards me.
I've never heard one.
I've never heard it. Now, I've been around him a handful of times, and so, but that's not to say I don't know. It's when people always ask me, Shannon, you ever met such and such? I was like, yeah, what's he like? Well, I can tell you what he's like around me at that moment. I don't know what he's going to be like around you. I don't know what he's going to be like in his private life. I can just tell you, I can just speak to a specific moment. So around me, he was on the show, Skip. 2 months ago? He was on the show. I had a great time talking to him. I've been around him at a couple of sporting events. And so, Skip, I'm very cautious to paint someone with that brush for a one-time incident that was 34 years ago. Now, when you got situations like the Utah DC, and you have a player saying this, but Skip, what we're seeing, and we talked about this on Friday, Skip, I believe over the next 3 months, 6 months, a year, you're going to have more of this coming out, especially if you hashtag Black Lives Matter. Because people are going to go back and dig and say, okay, try to find something and say, okay, did Black Lives Matter then when you said this? And so that's what we're going to get. It's kind of like you said to Me Too. People go back and like, well, he did this in 1970, he did this in 1980. Skip, if there's a history, if there's a pattern, okay, now you got my undivided attention. Because I believe, people have said things in anger and frustration, that not to excuse it. Because I don't want to excuse him saying that word, because everybody knows in England, wherever across the world, they know what that word is, Skip. You talk about vile, that's vile in any language, in any country, on any continent.
True.
But I haven't heard of Mark Wahlberg having any other instances in which race or racial epithet was uttered, or he treated someone. That's not to say it didn't happen, but I haven't heard it. But the Iowa strength coach, what you're starting to see, Skip, you're starting to see more than one player. It wasn't one. Because, Skip, a lot of times it's one, you can brush it off. Now, there's a situation that happened down in Clemson. Dabo Swinney's going to have to address. He's going to have to address this.
Yep.
He had a Football Matters T-shirt on. It's all fine and good and it's cute, and you can pray and you can have faith and read the Bible all you want to, but you're going to have to address these issues, Dabo. They're not going away.
No.
They're not going away.
Okay, so I want to make the point that what happened yesterday concerning Mark Wahlberg, he trended all day yesterday on Twitter, and it wasn't because of a gotcha moment. It wasn't because a watchdog went back into his Twitter past or whatever past and said, aha, got you.
Right.
These racial incidents, these hate crimes have been existing on his Wikipedia page, hiding in plain sight since Wikipedia was born. Right. Trust me, it's been there.
Yep.
I've had Mark Wahlberg on shows dating back to First Take. I don't know what year the first time, maybe 2014 was the first time we had him on. And I did read his Wikipedia the night before. And I said to our producers, I read about these hate crimes. I'm going to ask him.
Right.
I'm sorry, I just can't not ask him about these because I was not aware of his past as a teenager in Boston, just how out of control these were.
Right.
And sure, okay, and I did. And he took it. He owned it. He didn't run from it. He didn't duck. He didn't dodge. He said, I was out of control. And I did learn a lot of lessons, and I paid for it. He did go to jail. It was a 2-year sentence. I don't know how he served only 45 days.
Right.
But remember, there were two things that happened. There were back-to-back days when he was 15 years old in which he threw rocks and chased black children, like 3rd and 4th graders, calling them, yelling the N-word at them. And I'm talking about the N-word, the most evil, vile word in the history of this language. And then at age, he's 15 then at 17, he attacked a Vietnamese man with a big wooden stick and just beat him almost to the brink of his life.
Right.
And that's the one he got arrested for and charged for and convicted of.
Right.
Okay, he also went after another Vietnamese man and punched him in the eye. He thought he'd knocked his eye out, but the Vietnamese man later said, I lost it in the war.
Right.
Okay, so then in 2014, around that time, maybe he was on the show, Wahlberg applied for a pardon of his convictions and finally dropped the attempt at a pardon because one of the black children came forward and said, a racist is always a racist,
right.
And you can't live with that.
Right.
You have always taught me that. Once you're a racist, you're racist. And Shannon Sharpe's never going to quite trust you again.
And Skip, for me, is that I can't tell that man that got those epithets hurled at him how he should feel. And I'm sure at the time, Skip, because I look at people that said it to me, I didn't look at them the same. I didn't. And so for people that want to condemn, Skip, I'm not, look, like I said, he was great to me, and I'm not here to, to try to cleanse Mark Wahlberg of his past transgressions or his sins. That's not what I'm here for. But I think he understood that by hashtagging Black Lives Matter, this was going to come back. people were going to dig this up, Skip, and that's the thing.
It's not. You don't even have to dig it up. It's just right there.
But I'm saying, people
They're
were going to
bring it to the forefront.
Right.
Yes, they are.
And I think that's what happened. Isn't that what happened with the Utah? He was talking about Black Lives Matter, and the guy was like, "Oh, it mattered."
Yep.
I couldn't tell. Not when you tweeted. Not when you.
And that was a 2013 incident.
And I guess he thought he was sending it to a colleague.
Yep.
And he ended up sending it to the recruit.
He did. And he profusely apologized, as Wahlberg did, for all of the above. But once you've done it, you've done it. Right. And Shannon Sharpe always told me, that's it. And Skip, I know what you are.
Skip, look, I don't excuse, because they send kids to prison for the rest of their life for crimes they committed as a teenager. So I'm fully well aware that kids know right, especially 14, 15, kids driving at 17. It's hard for me to say you can get a driver's permit, you know how to drive, but you don't know the things that you say would be hurtful or what you shouldn't say. But Skip, this DC is a grown-ass man. Black kids coming in and out of Utah.
Yeah.
They coming in and out of your program.
No, he's been beloved there for a long time. He was an All-American safety there. He's been there all the way. Grew up in Salt Lake City.
And so, he's going to, and I think, Skip, people are going to lose their jobs for this. And now, and also what's happening, Skip, if you notice, people that feel this way, they're really adamant. They're going overboard with it. They Facebook with nooses and all this, say black, you need to punish them. And so all these protesters and getting out of this and that. So if you're adamant about where your stance is, you fool boy, you're like, I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care.
So help me out on this. Just as they say in Alcoholics Anonymous, you're a recovering alcoholic.
Yes.
You're never recovered. You're just recovering.
Right.
It's literally one day at a time.
Right.
One drink, you're falling off the wagon, you could die.
Right.
Can you be a recovering racist? Can you, for the rest of your life, continue to make amends and still be on the verge, but never fall off the wagon that you're on?
Skip, Skip, you don't get to become an alcoholic with one drink. It is a pattern of behavior over an extended period of time. That means you're an alcoholic or a drug addict or a gambling addict.
I believe you're genetically predisposed to it. Yeah.
So
you have a weakness.
The question is that in that moment, when Mark did what he did, if the stimuli was the same in today, right now, I think he's 48, 49.
49. Mm-hmm.
If the stimuli was placed on him like it was then, would he resort to saying those things or reacting the way he did then? That's the question. I don't believe he would. Now, that's just me. Maybe I'm naive, maybe because of 34 years, and he's, like I said, I don't know anything. People been around him that probably would know him more than I would, but I can just speak to what I know.
No, I got you. I just don't want me personally to fall into the trap of every time we've had him on, I've had him on 5 or 6 times, he's tremendous. He's fun. He's funny.
Right.
He's a movie star.
Yes.
And he's great. He's open, accessible. He's self-deprecating. But I don't want that to cover up something that could be hidden sort of racist.
Well, Skip, look, I'm sure they're going to be, he's worked around enough black men and on screen. The people, the camera crew and the spotters and all the other stuff that behind the scenes.
Right. I've never heard of one incident, one wrong word coming out.
I have not either.
Yep.
And that's, Skip, just because you and I haven't heard it, that didn't mean it didn't happen.
Nope.
But like I said, for me, Skip, I'm a pattern of behavior. It's repeat offenses. And it doesn't matter what the offense is, Skip. It's just that pattern. Bro, you doing that again? You did that again? You did that again? That's what gets me. And our strength coach.
Yep.
People gonna have to give an account for this. I'm sure they thought this was a thing of the past. Like, okay, it happens, and
with him, they said he likes to joke that way.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a laughing matter to the people you're joking at.
Yeah. We both need to be laughing for that to be funny. I'm saying, hey, if you're the only one laughing, you say something about me and I ain't laughing, especially if it has to do with race or something.
Yes, race.
Nah, bro. We don't joke like that. We can find other things that you and I both can get a laugh out of, but race ain't one of them.
No mercy.
Well, last week, Drew Brees apologized for comments he made about not supporting protests during the national anthem. Many of his teammates and players around the league accepted Brees' apology. And over the weekend, Drew called and spoke with Shannon on the phone for about 30 minutes. So Shannon, again, take us into this conversation and really just let us know how you're feeling about Drew today.
It was a great call, Skip. I think we both needed this call to get a better understanding what each other was thinking. He needed to hear what I was thinking and my scathing criticism of him. I needed to hear what he had to say with his defiance of not standing for the anthem. And Skip, I believe Drew could have supported the cause and still stood for the national anthem.
Yep.
But the problem that I had is that he seemed to I can't respect you or the cause because you're not standing for the anthem. And I think he understands how wrong that is, because you feel a certain way about a flag that hasn't been always been the representation of what a lot of Black America has experienced. And I think he, talking to his teammates, I think he got that even before he talked to me. I think hearing his teammates, Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara and Demarius Davis and Cam Jordan and obviously Malcolm Jenkins, I think that crystallized it for him. We don't need you to be Drew Brees. We need you to be one of us. We need you to have empathy. We need you to have compassion. We need you to have understanding of what it's like to be Black in America. And that's something you're never going to experience. But just for a second, imagine that was your son. That was your uncle. That was your dad. Now that starts to resonate. I never looked at it like that. Skip, it's hard to, if you can't empathize, if you can't picture yourself because I think all of us we've lost a loved one to cancer. So when you hear people talk about those stories, Skip, you have empathy for them because you've been on the other end. Drew Brees ain't never lost a family member through police violence. Drew Brees has never had a relative that had systemic racism and not had an opportunity to get health care.
He's never had to have the talk with his 3 sons about this is how you're going to have to respond if you get pulled over.
Right. He's not having talks that Cam Jordan and some of those other Black men on his team are having with their kids. He's not having that talk with his kids. That's what they were trying to get him to understand. And I think the thing is that Drew maybe was parroting something that a lot of people that didn't want to talk about this cause made it about the flag. And a lot of people well, hold on. That sounds real familiar. Somebody else said that very thing that you're saying about the flag. And so I think Drew, and Skip, I get it. And I told him, I said, Drew, a lot of people are going to say, well, you're trying to save endorsement. You got a deal lined up with NBC. I said, you got all those things. I said, but if you attack this, trying to help Black people get justice, trying to get Black people equal rights in America, like you've attacked all your other endeavors in New Orleans, you'll be fine, bro. You'll be fine. There's no question in my mind. I said, but Drew, because like I said, I haven't been around you much, but the little bit that I have, I think you're a great man. I think you got a good heart, bro. I really do. But you stepped in it. You knew. And I think you knew immediately. I said, and the thing is, Skip, I went back and listened to it, and he tried to explain, equality and women's suffrage and all that. But because what you said, you didn't say that with the same tenacity you said you will never respect someone that doesn't stand for the flag. That wasn't, when you talk about women's suffrage and other things, it wasn't with that same tenacity. But I said, Drew, you'll be fine. I said, you'll be fine. I said, but there's a reason why your teammates offered that same scathing criticism that I did. It's because they couldn't believe that came from you, not their Drew. Not Drew. We family.
Yep. Okay. So if I'm hearing you correctly, the takeaway that I'm learning from you is that because of Drew Brees' reservoir or resume of goodwill over many years and his tireless charity work and contributions, recently $5 million, but especially post-Katrina.
Correct.
2006 NFL Man of the Year, Walter Payton Man of the Year Award, right?
Yes.
Because of all that, he has successfully been able to apologize his way out of stepping in it. Is that fair?
No. He's not. Well, Skip, the thing is now he's cleaning off his shoes. He's cleaning off his shoes. So in other words, it's going to take a while for him to clean his shoes off.
Okay.
But he's got his foot up out of it.
Okay.
And so now he has to clean his shoe. He understands the apology is only the first step. There are other steps in order to complete this process, Skip. You know what I'm saying? You driver's class, you just don't take the test and get a driver's license, where they did in Georgia, but now they're making them come back and take and have to actually drive, Skip, because during the pandemic, you took the test, they gave you a driver's license.
They did.
They're like, well, wait a minute. A kid don't even have to know how to parallel park, doesn't have to know how to back up.
Really?
Yeah. But
I told you my only B in high school was in driver's ed because they didn't give A's. So I should have been in Georgia.
Because you didn't deserve one.
I did. Nobody got one.
I'd have got one. But so, Skip, but that's the thing. He understands, just like, Skip, think about how long it took him to build up that goodwill in New Orleans.
A lot of years. No, I got it. But you have also taught me, once you show yourself, once you expose who you really are, I'm never going to completely trust you again. So will that be the mindset, especially of a Malcolm Jenkins or an Alvin Kamara, who were the most vociferous, who were the most emotional in their condemnations, their public condemnations of their quarterback?
No, I think, well, it's going to take a while. I think Alvin Kamara, because he spoke about how his mother is of African descent, and her dialect and her talking and being on the end of racism. And so I think it's hard for him. It's going to be harder for those two guys. But I think, Skip, when you really get down to it and you look at Drew and you look at his goodwill, it's going to take a while. And that's what I told him. I said, Drew, this thing is not going to end overnight. I said, it's not. I said, it's just not. I said, you understand the hurt and the pain you caused a lot of people that believed in you. And Skip, I think he got it. Because, Skip, he felt that way. He didn't think anything about it, because for 1 second, he had never allowed himself to go there. And I think that's what if you can keep yourself from going there. Skip, they say a man that goes in prison can survive as long as his mind isn't in prison. His body can be there, but if his mind is somewhere else, he's fine. I don't think Drew allowed his mind to go to the other side and says, what if I was black? What if that was my brother? What if that was my uncle? What if that was my son or my dad? He didn't allow himself. So for the first time, he allowed himself, or he's allowing himself, or that's what he told me. He said, Shannon, I'm allowing myself to see a different point of view and not just say, okay, the flag. Okay, the flag means something to me. That doesn't mean, because, Skip, we get that a lot. Skip, I'm allergic to shellfish. You might love shellfish. Well, how the hell you expect me to love shellfish if I have this different experience than what you have? Man, it tastes good. Man, I don't know how you don't eat it. Well, I have an allergic reaction to it. Well, white people have the flag. Black people have an allergic reaction to the flag because of what transpired under that flag. So you can see, and I think Drew, and that's what we're trying to get Drew and a lot of other powerful white men to see. While the flag might be good and has a great symbol for you, it's been an allergic reaction to a lot of black men and women in this country.
So Thursday, right after these words were spoken on, of all places, Yahoo Finance, which I thought was fitting. You know, he's on Yahoo Finance. This is what I call elite white insensitivity. Right. You're on Yahoo Finance and you're asked about the protest and you go there.
Right.
Because that's who you are. That's what I told you the next day. Staunch Republican, arch conservative, son of prominent trial attorney and mom, an attorney in Austin, Texas, grew up in an affluent, pretty much white neighborhood. That's who he is. Right. That's what you got. He is super patriotic. And so the flag is going to be slightly more important to him than any Black Life Mattering, even that one, George Floyd, even that one. We saw the equivalent to me of a public lynching, and even that didn't penetrate his psyche enough to think, America's on fire with this. This is a firestorm we're in right now. Yes. And yet, it's that elite white insensitivity of, I'm okay. You know, what I told you before, you know, Trayvon Martin happens, and Drew Brees and his wife, they read about it, but it goes in one eye and out the other because they're fine. They're not going to relate to that. No. And then Eric Garner happens, and then Michael Brown happens, and then Ahmaud Arbery happens, and then even George Floyd happens, and they hear it, but they don't. They listen, but they don't hear. That's never going to happen to my son. No, it's not going to happen. So to me, His wife posted a thing on Instagram yesterday, and she said, I write this with tears in my eyes, only until the last few days, until we experienced the death threats and experienced the hate directed at us. Aha!
That's your aha moment.
Oh, there you go. Did I realize that these words were speaking directly to us? How could anyone who knows us or have had interactions with us think that Drew or I have a racist bone in our body? Well, nobody's saying you have a racist bone. You're just tone deaf. You just can't hear it at all. You have an insensitivity bone, and it's an oblivious bone. You are just supremely oblivious. You're almost arrogantly oblivious, and you don't even know it.
Exactly. Okay. And prior to that, Skip, no threats. Mm-hmm. Now imagine the threat that a black man walking down the street.
Yep.
You see, that was a threat because of something you said. I got that threat because of who I am. Every day.
Okay, so to her credit, to his wife's credit, she leads to the conclusion, this is, in all caps, this is the problem, that we didn't get it. We never thought about it until we started receiving the death threats and the hate.
Yeah.
Oh, now we relate to you in reverse. It's weird how it happened, but it did.
Yes.
But in the end, you said on Thursday, this team is fractured. Mm-hmm. It's damaged.
Yes.
Maybe beyond repair. We'll see.
Right.
Going forward.
They got some work to do.
We're still months away from face-to-face.
You're right.
So Zoom calls are one thing.
Yes.
Tearful apologies via the internet are one thing.
Right.
And on virtual calls with your teammates. Okay. But what about face-to-face? Because you pointed out he's going to have a heart-to-heart, eye-to-eye conversation with Malcolm Jenkins,
yes.
Maybe with Kamara, maybe even with Michael Thomas, who seems to have been won back over, at least publicly so far.
Right.
So I told you on Thursday, I'm not going to overreact to this because I've been around teams in the past that were racially divided in the locker room, but somehow weirdly came together because of it.
Right.
They united around their racial tension to say, we got to do this together.
Right.
We have to put aside our differences. You did it in 1997 in the locker room. After you'd lost, you said 4 games in a row, but you had a Monday night football game, and it was for all the world to see.
Yep.
A white player named Bill Romanowski spat upon a black player named J.J. Stokes for the 49ers.
Right.
And it was a wow moment. And Shannon Sharpe had a huge problem with his white teammate, and so you had to have a big face-to-face meeting.
And Skip, and the thing is that I don't know if it didn't have the same impact of the white guys that it had on us. Because the black guys, because it's different. It means something entirely different, Skip.
Yeah.
It could be 2 different things. It's just as gross, but how they perceived it and how we perceived it was totally different. Even though, Skip, J.J. Stokes is not even on our team.
No, I got
and that's how we reacted.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
And you lost the game, right?
Well, we got the doors blown off.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, and that was the thing, Skip. And that's what, think about it. You see, you say, okay, galvanize, come together. That's what they were asking to Drew. Drew, can you come with us on this issue?
Not on a football issue, on a life issue.
Right, because you say Skip, we're family. Mm-hmm. We stick together. We don't let anything, the media, y'all try to bring us down, yada, 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 but we're family. And so the players were saying, Drew, this was an issue that as a family, we needed you to come in with us. Mm-hmm. And you said that. And he said, like, look, Skip, sometimes you get to talking and you talk and then they steer you down a path. He'd have just came out better saying no comment and just, hey. But I don't know if he'd have said no comment, would he have gotten the picture that he would have gotten. Skip, it took this for him and his wife to see what Black America has been seeing for 400 years because he's getting death threats. Because all of a sudden he's getting judged. We get judged because of the color of our skin on a daily basis. He got judged because he said something.
Yep.
So now he gets an opportunity. They get an opportunity to see.
So forgive me, I'm always a little skeptical about these things. Obviously, Drew's entire career was teetering here. This is probably his swan song year, and it was going to get wrecked by one statement that came out of his mouth.
Yes.
And so he is desperately fighting to get his reputation back. And I'm not sure about that he's reformed, that he's completely changed, that he is, dare I say, woke.
Let me ask you a question. If he were to go and trumpet the cause, if he was to put his name and his voice and his resources behind this cause, and eventually we move this past the goal line,
If he became a leader,
yes,
a white leader of
yes.
the black cause,
yes,
I'm with you.
I believe.
Yep.
So I believe Drew Brees. Call me naive. Now, he don't want to make me out to be a liar.
No.
That's one thing he doesn't want to do.
I got it. With you.
I'm with him. I believe Drew is going to get this thing right. I really do, Skip.
So glad you guys had the chance to talk. And you said it earlier, Shannon, an apology is just the first step.
Yep.
But it is a start. And I think you made a good point, Skip, that his wife's words of experiencing it for the first time, you can't hide from it. You can't compartmentalize these feelings anymore. Feel it, talk about it. If they're uncomfortable conversations, they're probably the right ones to have, guys.
No mercy.
All right, guys, Michael Jordan and the Jordan brand announced a $100 million pledge over the next 10 years to organizations supporting social justice and racial equality. Jordan said, quote, "We have had enough when it comes to racial inequality." So, Shannon, how impressive was this? Because on this show, we've mentioned it. MJ, you know, he had not taken a stand in the past, but now he's making a stand and he's committing this money. What does it say to you?
I think Mike is starting to realize, Skip, he could have and he should have done more while he was playing. Mm-hmm. I'm a firm believer that it's never too late to do the right thing. Yeah. This is the right thing. And he released a statement the other day, Skip, but this is the one that got me. He says, "We've been beaten down as African Americans for so many years, Skip. It sucks your soul. You can't accept it anymore. This is a tipping point. We need to make a stand. We got to get to a better as a society regarding race. Face up to your demons, extend the hand, understand the inequalities."
That was to the Charlotte Observer.
Skip. Mm-hmm. Hey, Tiger, you hear that statement? Not that bull job you put out. That's a statement. Skip, Michael Jordan says, you know what? I must be not only morally conscious, I got to be socially conscious. Skip, as I mentioned earlier, Skip, I can feel the pain in which he's talking. He's like, I'm Michael Jordan, I get it. Ain't nobody, I'm good. But no, what I'm seeing, Skip, how can you not be touched if you did not see George Floyd die on live TV? How can you not be? And for Mike to take that stand, like I said, yes, he knows there were times, there were issues in 1988, the Rodney King. There have been times that he could have spoken up. He could have. He's always been Michael Jordan. He just didn't become this mythical figure. He's always been that. And so when these things were going on in 88, he was that guy then. He won the MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Skip. He was that guy. In 92, he was that guy. So he's always had an opportunity. And I think now he's realizing I could have done more. I should have done more. But no more. I'm a starter. I'm not a bench player. I'm not coming off the bench. I'm not going to sit back and let everybody else address it. No. I'm going to address this not only with my words, but with my money. Skip, this is unbelievable. I'm so proud of Mike, and I know people like, what he should have done, what he could have done is neither here nor there. What is he doing now? And this was a strong, passionate statement from this man, and this is weighing heavily on his heart.
Okay. So I will definitely give you better late than never. This is the first time in his 57-year life that he has taken this kind of stand and put this kind of wherewithal behind the stand. $100 million from him and his brand, Jordan Brand.
Yes.
Okay. For 4 years, we've fought back and forth about who's the GOAT. And every time you bring up LeBron and even put him in the same conversation with Michael Jeffrey Jordan, I say that's blasphemy. But every time we talk about off the court, I say it's blasphemy to put Michael in the same conversation with LeBron.
Yep.
What I believe just happened was, through all the airing of The Last Dance, Michael took some heat because it came clear the way he treated his teammates, number one. Remember, he prefaced the first episode by saying on Good Morning America, I'm afraid I might come across as a horrible person, right?
Yes.
And he also started taking heat because it came clear he's never taken a stance on any social justice issue.
Correct.
He avoided. I covered him. He scrupulously avoided it. And at one point told me, I just don't even know enough to know. You know, like I don't get it. I don't follow it. I don't know politics. I don't really, I'm just a basketball player.
Right.
Okay. So he's sort of falling into the shut up and dribble trap, right?
Yes.
Right. He's just saying, okay, I'll just shut up and dribble.
Right.
Right. But during The Last Dance, a lot of good came out, a lot of great came out, and some very negative came out. And I think it stung him to the point it awakened some things in him. And at 57, he sat back and said, you know what? It's time. I'm going to do something here. And I told you, I know he got sick and tired of hearing LeBron's better than Jordan.
Right.
He might have gotten a little bit tired of hearing LeBron, I promise, you know, like after a while, he says, well, I'm this guy. I'm Michael Jordan.
Right.
I can do this too. I'll go 100 million. How about that, LeBron?
Right.
Match that, right? Okay, so it's, again, better late than never because it's a great statement. And I circle that same statement you read, so I don't have to reread it here. That's potent,
It's
man.
powerful, Skip.
Woo!
It's powerful. That might have been the most powerful thing Michael Jordan has ever said, Skip.
Yep. So I did read the rest of this interview to see where does the 100 million go? You're pledging it to what? And he said, we're not sure yet. Much of it to education. Let me get the other line here. He said, education is the best route for black people to better themselves. Well, sure, we get that. Right. But is that going to fix this problem that we're talking about? No, I don't think so. No. It could help in the big picture long term. But again, 100 million to do what? I need to know specifically it's going to be dedicated to fixing what? Not sure yet because he doesn't seem sure.
Well, we're going to fix this. This is how we're going to start to fix it, Skip. We're going to start to fix it at the ballot box. Because what we're going to do, and then we're going to have people say, look, these chokeholds, they're banned and they're illegal. We're going to start holding police officers accountable. Just like they found the guy that killed this police officer, I think it was in St. Louis. Now, they got his mugshot. Guess what? He going to get tried. He going to jail.
Yeah, okay.
So enough, Skip, but I think what's going to have to happen, Skip, they're going to have to do something with this qualified immunity. Okay. Because what happens is that the police officers, they get certain immunities because of their job. And it gives them a lot of the benefit of the doubt. A threat perceived or imagined. That's too broad, Skip. That's too broad. I shouldn't be, I mean, just imagine if you go in the grocery store and somebody like, I think you about to do something to me. And you do something to them. Well, I just felt like he was going, that's what a police officer has. Yep. That's too broad, Skip. That's too broad.
Okay, I got you. So are you okay with 100 million, not sure where you're going to earmark it for?
Well, Skip, I think when you give that kind of money, I don't, because I think at the time, Skip, he's so emotional. He's so like raw, so passionate. Like, I'm giving $100 million. And then at the process of getting $100 million, $10 million a year, we'll find worthy causes.
Okay.
That we can disseminate this money to, and we can start the process. But you better start with the local level, Skip, putting people, the mayors and councilmen in to put rules and regulation to hold these police departments accountable.
I was much more impressed by the words than the deed in this case. The deed's 100 million.
Yeah.
But what have we seen for, 10 days? It seems like every CEO in America, every president of every big company has made a statement. Black lives matter. You know, we've heard it from everybody because they all feel like they have to get on board here or they will look like, why were you silent? Right. Well, so forgive me for being a little skeptical, but 100 million, I get it. It's great, but I like the words better than the 100 million. The 100 million, you could argue, is to help protect your business a little bit. Like you got, and it took all the way until this past Friday for this to come out. Okay, better late than never. But remember, George Floyd happened on Memorial Day.
25th.
Yep. So it was, it was all, and now it's 2 weeks today, but Friday was getting close to 2 weeks before this came out.
But Skip, he's been more. He gave $5 million a couple of years ago. He gave money to, I think, Wilmington. They was affected by the hurricane. So he's been more generous of his giving. But I think, Skip, these are the issues that people want to hear Michael Jordan speak on.
Yes.
Bro, you black. I don't know if you noticed it, but you black. And although, and we need you to have empathy for men that are not, because Skip, a lot of times that we get black people and I made it, so can you. And that's not always the case. Everybody is not afforded those opportunities. And if we talked about on Friday, Skip, I understand all these major corporations saying this and that. I want to see some teeth in this. I want to see some people on the board and some black people. I want to see some people of color. I want to see some diversity in the hiring practices. Then I'll believe that what you're saying is to be true. But it's convenient right now, Skip. You almost got to do this.
It's not convenient. You have to.
Exactly.
You get swept up in it or you're going to get run over by it.
And now, Skip, if you don't, Skip, the way this thing is, people almost put you out of business. They're like, don't shop with them. The black lives don't matter. And they don't care about systemic racism. And then, boom, it catches on. Skip, these people in the street. You know what? But it's a perfect storm, Skip. You know what happened? You had COVID. People have been sheltered in place. And they want a reason to be out. And they said, this is a work. We here. We ain't going nowhere.
And it's summertime.
We ain't going nowhere, Skip. Guess what? They're still going on today, Skip. It's 2 weeks. We got change.
Stealing it from you. You said it off the top, Shannon. Never too late to do the right thing. And we're going to keep saying that. No mercy. And we are now joined by our close friend of the show, Lil Wayne. Thank you so much for joining us today. And congrats on the success of your new radio show.
Thank you.
Even getting Skip talking, which is always a good sign. Skip, I'm going to hand this over your way.
Hey, we appreciate you being with us again today.
What's up, Skip? What's up, Unc?
Good morning.
I'm good, nephew.
Hey, let me begin by framing what I'm about to ask you about. You grew up in what's called the Holly Grove neighborhood of New Orleans, which was patrolled by cops that you used to refer to as jump out boys because they had their doors cracked, ready to jump out and sometimes jump on black people for no apparent reason.
But they ain't had no other people around.
You got it. But you told last Friday a story on your new radio show, which is tremendous. But you told a story about one white cop who wasn't the usual bad white cop. One white cop who became a lifesaver for you. So take it away and tell us the story, if you would, please.
Okay, there's a cop in New Orleans. I referred to him as Uncle Bob. When I was 12 years old, I had an incident. I shot myself. I was in the house alone. When the police came to the door, I was able to slide all the way to the door, kick the door so they can hear that someone is actually in the apartment because I thought they left. I heard them knocking on the door, like asking somebody in there. But then they stopped. So I said, I got to get to this door. I kicked the door. They was like, someone's in there. They knocked the door off the hinges. I was right there on the floor. They all just jumped right over me. That's their job, I guess, and did what they had to do. And so one guy ran. He ran. Everybody just running up to, running up, meeting me at the door and jumping over. The one guy came. He was like, do nobody see this child? Do nobody see this baby on the floor with this hole in his chest? And it was like, yes. But I found the gun. I found it. He was like, I don't care what you found, somebody. And so all I could remember was him just grabbing me. He was like, they was like, we got an ambulance. He was like, I'm not waiting for no ambulance. And then he put me in a car. He got me there. That's Uncle Bob's story when that happened. Now, what I want people to know is I have a father. His name is Baby. Some people call him Birdman, Stun or whatever. Uncle Bob been a policeman in New Orleans. And something I found out that I didn't have to tell everybody, but I tell them now. Uncle Bob is the same police, same cop that put my father in jail for years. I found that out by Baby seeing who Uncle Bob was and being like, wait, that's Uncle Bob? And I'm like, yeah, that's Uncle Bob. Why, you know him? And seeing how Uncle Bob react about Baby. So I sit down and talk to Baby, but he said, let me tell you something about him. He said, now that I see who you're talking about, that this story doesn't surprise me. He said, because that guy always treated us like we were his sons. So when he would come, if he chasing after, he's not about to bring us to jail. He's about to chase us down and scold us and take whatever we have on us But if it's the 39th time, we going to jail. And so he was like, but he always had a heart. He said, and also he saw me years later when I became who I am, Birdman, in the mall. He was a mall security. He said, I walked past him and he stopped me and he just wanted to tell me, you may not remember who I am. He said, but I told him, I remember who you are. He said, but I just want to know you. I'm happy to see you turned out to be what you turned out to be and who and how. How I told Baby, I know you're not lying. It's because when I saw Uncle Bob years later in a restaurant and found out and walked up to him and said, hey, he said, listen, I don't want you to pay for my meal. I don't want you to do nothing. I don't need anything. I'm just happy to see you turned out to be who you are and how you are. Mm-hmm. Now, that's Uncle Bob's story and everything, and that's my story and that's Baby's story. Mm-hmm. People taking it, flipping it, and saying I'm this and I'm that and I that. But I can't do too much about it but live my story.
So do you believe he saved your life? Do you think you would have bled to death?
Oh, I know he saved my life. What I found out once I spoke to him years later, I found out was there was EMT there. And he said when he got there, they had told him that they tried 3 times. And he said that was some kind of procedure, I guess, up there is that if you try 3 times, that's it. He said, but he saw life in me. And for me to remember all the things that I told him, he was like, well, obviously you were there. He's like, because all the things you're saying happened. He's like, we didn't know you knew that was happening, that you knew what was going on. But like I said, he said they tried 3 times. He refused to live with that.
I think the thing is that I think people have heard you say, well, there's no racism. And you're like, you're looking at it from a perspective like, okay, there's good cops. And it seems like you're willing to give, like, there are good cops the benefit of the doubt. But it seems like on the other side, they're unwilling to say they're good black people. It seems to me like all black men are being treated like thugs. And they judge us, they judge one of our bad apples, they paint that whole brush over the entire race. Where you was willing to give like, nah, all of them aren't bad. One actually saved my life. Where you were willing to give them that courtesy, they seem to be unwilling to give us courtesy likewise.
But that said, I'm willing to give Uncle Bob that courtesy.
Right.
I wasn't speaking for no one else.
Right.
And I specified that every time I speak about it. I said, that's Uncle Bob's story. That's my story. And that's that. Everything else is what everything it is. And that's all. I mean, people take one thing you say and flip it, so.
And by the way, quick point of order. I had read before that you accidentally shot yourself, but then I heard recently that you intended to shoot yourself at that point at age 12, right?
Yeah, mental health is serious. Yeah, I was a kid going through a lot at the time.
Yep.
I thought I was.
So you see you see what's going on, the George Floyd.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think we're going to finally see the change that Dr. King and so many of our ancestors, they fought for, they marched for, they died behind? Do you think we're finally about to see the change that they never got a chance to see, that we're going to finally get the opportunity to start seeing in 2020 and moving forward?
I think any positive change is still not enough.
Right.
So I'm not sure whatever, if we'll ever accomplish what our ancestors would have loved to see. But I definitely think change is coming. How much change, I don't know.
So, Wayne, obviously a lot of white kids through the years have loved your music and grew up on your music. And Shannon and I keep talking about how many white kids we see at the protests now, marching, demonstrating with their black brothers and sisters. I've never seen anything like this. Could that indicate a turning point, a watershed sort of moment where white America is listening to the evils inflicted upon the black community more than ever. Is that fair to say? Do you sense that?
I think that sight alone speaks to that, Skip. I was in LA last week, and they were protesting outside the room. I looked outside my balcony, and like you said, it was majority, if not white, it wasn't a majority of black people out there. And that right there was, I actually, I stopped and looked, instead of just looking outside that made me stop and say, wow. So I guess, like I said, that's a sight. Not sure how much change is coming, though.
No mercy.
Welcome back to Undisputed. Lil Wayne still joining us, and I gotta ask him about his Packers, because the moment Green Bay made the decision to draft a quarterback, Jordan Love, everyone started thinking about Aaron Rodgers and his future. So Wayne, gotta ask you first, how will Aaron Rodgers react if Green Bay instills some packages for Jordan Love this season?
Aaron's a true professional. We know that Aaron's going to, if anything, he's going to try to make the most out of those plays and try to do the best to make them successful plays, whatever you want to call it. But that's also not be too surprised if he just take his helmet off and walk off the field and never come back.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. So how shocked were you that they drafted Jordan Love that high? Did you just fall off your chair that night on draft night?
You know how you try to act like you know what's going on?
Yeah.
And you know why somebody did something because it's your team. You feel like, I know why we did that. I was like, yeah. It just broke down right there. I couldn't keep it going. I didn't know why we did that. I don't know what's going on. I want to hit Aaron up, ask him how he was doing, tell him don't jump.
Yeah.
But it's, look, nephew, it's the same thing. If they take a quarterback, they move up to get him. They're looking for him to replace you sooner rather than later. And Aaron handled it like I thought he would. He was upset, and, he's like, I'm going to go out here and play. But he knows the likelihood of him finish his career in Green Bay is probably not going to happen now.
Yeah, that was the writing on the wall. No. If he had any doubts or anything, they let him know right there.
Mm. So what are you hearing about Jordan Love? We've heard anything from next Patrick Mahomes to, that could be a bust. What's your gut feeling?
I watched him a bit. When I hit a Patrick Mahomes, I saw flashes, not too many, though, to make it just a Patrick Mahomes comparison. But I love that if that's the situation. But Skip, I'm still Aaron Rodgers right now.
I got you.
I don't know what's going on. Yeah.
Was that a flash or a flashlight? I mean, there's two different things. When you gotta hit it, and then it come on. It flashed a few times. You have to hit the flashlight and then see it. So let me ask it's not a lightsaber yet. Let me ask you a question. If Aaron Rodgers moves on, are you taking your loyalties with Aaron Rodgers, or are you staying in Green Bay?
I'm a cheesehead for life.
Oh, man, come on, man. You got to go with your guy. That's your guy.
That's my guy. I'm going to go with whatever team he with. I'm rocking with them. They my people. But, I'm a cheesehead for life. I'm Brett Favre. That's the reason why I'm there.
So look back at last year. I've made the case here on our show. Little bit fraudulent to be 13-3. There's some luck involved.
Try to make that case every time you bring it up. I want to just throw something at the screen.
So unmake it for me. Was it a legit 13-3 last year?
Skip, it was very legit. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. We in a very tough division. It's cold out there. You know what I mean? And but we ran into them people, Skip, and we weren't ready for them.
You were not ready.
That's all it was. That's all it was.
I've made the case that another Aaron on the team, not named Rodgers, named Jones, was the MVP of that team. I love that little man.
I love him too.
I think he carried you a long way by making a lot of big plays and a lot of big run after catches that helped Aaron Rodgers look a little better than maybe he was. Without
having to go to Cabo. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But you know what? They were 13-3, Weezy, but you know what could have happened? The Dallas Cowboys played them. They could have hung an L on them and made them 12-4. But that didn't happen, did it?
Yeah, coulda, woulda, shoulda. You already know how that goes.
Wait a second. We won the second half. Doesn't that count?
What?
If you win the first, if you win the second half, that means you win the game. Isn't that right?
You know how he good with that. Yeah, we won this, the QBR and all.
Yeah.
Skip, what was the final score?
I forget.
Exactly.
Hey, if my sorry kicker hadn't missed a field goal at the end, at least we would have had an onside kick that we probably would have recovered. And Dak he was hot, man. By then he had warmed up.
Oh, you hear?
And he probably would have thrown a touchdown pass that would have tied the score, and we probably would have won in overtime.
Probably woulda, shoulda, coulda.
Yeah.
All that.
You hear him talking about how Dak was hot, but he don't want Dak to get his money. Weezy, you watch the show? Go ahead, talk to him.
I'm about to say, you sure Dak gonna be there?
I'm not sure, because he's asking for way too much money. He's asking for beyond Mahomes money. And even this man across from me, who despises Dak Prescott, who gave him Fs for almost every game he played last year, including the Green Bay game.
No, he didn't.
When he threw for like 254 in the last quarter. This man wants him to get overpaid to wreck my salary cap. So we all see through Shannon Sharpe.
Weezy, did you notice what? I never heard when Dak was making $400,000, anybody say he was underpaid. Let's give him a pay raise. Now he about to get this payday. Oh man, Dak ain't that good. He ain't better than Mahomes.
He don't deserve all this. Whoa. I know that man Dak got to be like, man, that's how you feel, huh?
Yeah, Skip. That's Skip.
Wow.
I love the man. I've said he's a top 10. I rank him 10th in the NFL. Should 10th be paid first? I don't think so.
Get your money, man.
Hey, $36 million that's on the table right now is more than fair for Dak Prescott. But he and his new agent want 40-something million a year. That's out of bounds.
That's a great agent.
Great agent.
Yeah, until
that man is doing his job.
Yeah, his agent has now alienated Boss Hogg up there, Jerry Jones. And once you alienate that man, you got issues, long-term issues.
I think Dak about to get his money, Skip.
I hope so. I hope he comes to his senses and takes the big money that's on the table.
Nah, it ain't come to no senses.
Yeah.
They always try to get somebody for nothing. Go on and get that money, Dak.
Yeah.
Get that money, Dak. Get that bag.
Yeah. All right, let's talk NBA. We're about to have a sprint to the championship finish line. It's coming up. God, help us, God. Bring it back as soon as possible. Who do you like in the sprint to the finish? You still like the Lakers?
I love the Lakers.
Do you?
I believe we were on a run. We were on a tear anyway. We were about to show everybody what we was going to do anyway. And I believe we starving. We're not hungry. We starving. We starving to get back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you got a break because your guy who's in his 17th season got 4 months off right there after he made his MVP case. But are you sure a rusty Lakers might not run into a dangerous 8 seed like Portland or maybe even Zion's team? Yeah.
I'm not worried. Yeah,
Shannon Sharpe claims he's not worried.
You see what he's doing?
Yeah.
Weezy, how long you been in this? Weezy, how long you been in this business? 17, 18 years? 20?
18,
18. You ain't getting old. You slowing down?
Nah.
Okay, Go James ain't slowing down either. They want you to slow down. They want him to slow down. But we going strong.
No.
We going strong.
What's the GOAT of? I don't even know what he's...
GOAT James.
The GOAT of Akron,
NBA.
Ohio? Or
Go to the NBA.
I give you that.
NBA.
Really?
Yes. Everybody knows that.
That's King James, huh?
Wait, yeah, that's King James, who used to be Prince
That's
James.
the GOAT.
Yeah. Did anybody watch The Last Dance but me? Maybe I was the only one who watched it. I don't know.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
By the way, Mr. Wayne, who is the GOAT of the NBA? Is it Jordan or LeBron, please?
Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant. A politically correct answer, if there ever was one, right?
But you know what? We're working on a documentary right now, Weezy. LeBron James, How I Became the GOAT. That's going to be released in about 10 years. Yeah, it's going to be a 20-part series.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, y'all come just sit down and talk to me. I got something behind the scenes.
Yeah, now look at that.
I wonder if I'll get interviewed for that.
Absolutely not.
So you don't want any objectivity?
You're going to definitely have to come talk to me over that.
You heard what he said, Weezy? Oh, y'all don't want any objectivity. Was there any objectivity in The Last Dance?
In The Last Dance?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
A lot of objectivity.
Really?
Well,
he got edited out.
Well, Horace Grant got to speak a lot of his speech.
No, he didn't.
Horace Grant spoke like approximately 8 seconds.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so what about that team that has to live in the basement of Staples? That team called the Clippers, the ugly stepchildren of Los Angeles?
They got the spot.
Are they going to be allowed up? Are they going to come up into the bright lights and maybe make a run at the Lakers in the conference finals?
You mean it? I don't know about all that.
No?
No.
So you have no fear of the Clippers, of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and Doc Rivers and Patrick Beverly, and I can go Lou Williams. I can go on and on and on.
You keep going, but no, I still have no fear.
No fear.
No.
Stop it, Skip.
I'm going to start it.
Why would you ever fear your little brother?
Well, because it's becoming your big brother. Hey, Shannon Sharpe grew up on Sterling Sharpe. At some point, he grew up on him. Yeah.
Hey, Weezy, as a matter of fact, they need to move out of our house anyway. We tired of them. Y'all need to get y'all own place.
They're building their own.
Starting to smell like y'all.
Yeah. Y'all, all of a sudden, y'all smelling yourself. Get out.
Yeah.
Wayne, thank you so much for joining us today. I missed this.
Thanks for having me.
I need to get you in studio soon.
You're the best. You're the GOAT.
Wait.
You're the GOAT.
I know, y'all.
Yeah.
We will talk to you again soon. Have a good rest of your day. Guys, Conor McGregor announced he was retiring from fighting for the third time in his career. He said fighting no longer excited him. He was bored of the game. So, Shannon, how seriously are you taking this retirement?
Not serious at all. The third time in 4 years, Skip, I mean, it's like he doesn't get the fight that he wants or he doesn't get his way. He's like, I'm retiring. And it's Dana's fault because Dana has acquiesced anytime he wants to fight, where he wants to fight. Well, I want to jump on this card, Dana. Okay. And because he's a big name. Yeah. But Dana has enabled him. And he feels that, well, I want to fight Khabib. Well, he can't get that fight. Well, I want to fight Gaethje. He can't get that fight. Well, I'm retired.
Yep.
Gaethje, I think.
Gaethje, right. Yeah. No, he wanted Justin Gaethje right now.
Right.
Yeah. Well, let's do it right now. No, Dana's got other plans. He's got Gaethje versus Khabib.
Correct.
Right? And it might not be until September.
Correct.
And remember, Conor was on record. I want to fight 3 times this year, starting with Cowboy. Right. And then guess what happened? The pandemic happened.
Right.
So I have some sympathy for Conor because he said they keep wanting to drag this. Well, we're all dragging out our lives.
Everybody else getting dragged out too.
I know. But in the end, he said they just want to show some power. Yeah, I think Dana has reasserted himself. You don't run our organization.
Exactly.
I run this organization, right?
And you see Dana going back and forth with John Jones. He's having it, he and John going back and forth.
Yep.
He wants to move up to heavyweight, but they want to keep him at lightweight money. And he's like, light heavyweight money. He's like, nah, I want more money. So they're going back and forth. And so, look, Dana is unlike any other commissioner. There ain't a whole lot of bargaining going on. What Dana says goes.
Nope. So every time Conor doesn't get his total way, I quit. And then everybody says, please don't quit, Conor.
Right.
And he does not quit, right? So I fully expect him back whenever.
Well, Floyd said he wanted to fight. And Floyd just tweeted or IG said, hey, I thought you told Mike Tyson a month ago you could beat me. So once you come back, come get punished again.
Do you want to see it again?
I'll pay him to get beat up again. Yeah.
Just to watch him get beat up?
Yep.
I thought he gave Floyd just about all he wanted.
He got beat up.
I thought he had Floyd in trouble in the 10th round, and then that happened.
That low blow?
Yep.
Then it happened.
That was a low blow over in the corner. And somebody stepped in and saved the day.
And then Floyd took him on down there.
Did he? Wop, wop. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm going with Floyd.
Yep.
Really? Interesting.
All
right, guys. That is it for Undisputed. Such good stuff. So glad we had Lil Wayne joining the show today. And we're back same time tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Have a good day, guys.